small parts like exciting research area. Then our brain realizes that okay, we knows individually we knows each of this what can I say, individually we know each of these words, correct? Exciting meaning we know, research meaning we know, and area meaning we know. Then we start that whether grammatically it is grammatically quite correct sentence. So yes, we can interpret it like okay, there is a area of research which is exciting, correct? So in the same way, the NLP works, and the same way compiler also works. You write something like say mm, A equal to B plus C. So what happens with this? Immediately your compiler understand okay, here A is a variable, B is a variable, C is a variable, and plus is a addition operator, and equal sign is a assignment operator. Okay, then your compiler understands that okay, individually I have three variables, I don't have any issue. I have a plus operator, I don't have an issue, I know how to do addition. I have assignment operator, no issue. Then it does try to uh, find out that whether these of things, so these things are logically written correctly, or the syntactically they are correctly arranged, like A equal to B plus C. If you say, then there will be some grammatical rule, like we have, first subject will come, then predicate will come, in subject there will be some noun, and in predicate there should be some verb, correct? So like that, some grammar, our compiler is also having some grammar. According to that, it will check, but then it will say okay, yes, this is a syntactically correct instruction, understand? So I think I made it quite clear. Then sophistication of static analysis technique, like static analysis technique is another quite important analysis technique when you will enter into industry, and if you are going to do any analysis of software, like analysis means here it can be testing of software, it can be security testing of software. Okay, so that time there is many static analysis technique. Okay, and they're quite popular. So this sophistication, that means how know the detail of this analysis techniques you will understand. Okay, then in use of little languages, like many times if you are going to develop a small device, and it is going to be say very popular, you may not like to use Python like language. You may like to develop your own language, and you can use that to develop your small code or a small program for your device. Like, do you think nowadays that calculators we are purchasing, the scientific calculator, their codes are written in Python? No, definitely no, right? They are written in some other language. So, like that, some small language you may need to develop for a small device. Then you can do that. Okay. Now, what is language? Because many times I am speaking about language, programming languages, or natural languages, what we are speaking. Okay. So what is this? Just a minute. So language is any system of formalized symbols, signs, etc., used to conceived as a mean of communication. That means anything we use as a mean of communication is called language. It can be some sign, it can be symbol, it can be a sound, okay, or it can be anything. Okay, that will be called a language. Like when we use what is called signs to communicate, we call that the people are using sign language, right? Then somebody may use formalized symbols, to communicate. Like if you say that script of some old script, then if you say even the English script or any language script, so what is that? They say, if you think about Hindi or English, so there is a set of symbols which are known as alphabet. Okay, so and we need to, if you are communicating in writing, then we need to mm, arrange those alphabets properly so that it will represent some meaningful word. Correct. So what is communication, or what do you mean by communicate? To transmit or exchange thought or knowledge. Okay, so communication is nothing but exchange or transmission of thought or knowledge. Okay, so why these languages are called programming languages? Because we communicate with machine using this language, right? So communication between person and machine is nothing but called as programming language. So you can say this is an intermediary between the machine and a person. Okay, so this is already, you all knows that mm, you can say it is hierarchy of languages. You know, at the top, if you see, we have natural languages. Natural languages means what we speak, like Hindi, English, etc. Okay. Then comes problem-oriented language. There is spelling mistake. Okay, problem-oriented languages. So these are languages which are invented for a particular problem. Okay. So these languages are usually used by a small group of people. It can be, you know, used by some in a small group of people for their secret communication. They have developed a language, or it can also be some programming language, but it is hard to classify a programming language in problem-oriented language. Okay. Mm, but yes, some programming languages you can classify here. Then comes high level language. This is very common. We all are familiar with high level languages, right? So here, see, I'm not showing you the breakup here of low level language, and some people like to give some middle level language also. So I'm not putting them here together, because high level means just understand here high level. That means it can be C, it can be Java, it can be Python, okay, or it can be .NET, okay, C++ or whatever, okay. So those are high level languages. Then comes assembly language. Assembly language is again another programming language, which are not like high level language. What is high level language? High level language is what it looks like English, right? Most of the keywords and other variables names and all these things we can write in English, right, in high level languages. But in assembly language, when you will come, they are basically, you will find they looks like English, but not exactly, otherwise they are going to give you that feeling of English language. Okay, they have a particular way of writing. Like you are writing, say, add, then you are giving accumulator A, and you are giving register, say, 2. So this is this kind of instruction you will find in assembly language, correct? Then comes machine language. So these assembly languages again are not understandable by the machine. But one good thing with the assembly language is that it is very convenient to convert assembly language to machine level language. Okay, so this is what the good thing with assembly level language, assembly languages. So still, numbers of time we write language in high level. Okay, we write languages in high level language, then we just convert this high level language to assembly language, then again we do assembly to machine level language. Okay, so as a intermediary language, assembly language is always a good choice. Okay, and machine level language is something we don't understand anything or much about this, because they are usually binary codes given in a binary string 00110 and so on. So if you open some machine level language, say code written in some machine level language, it is very hard to understand for what this code are written. Okay, so you can understand that this side, more you go to this direction, it becomes closer to human or more human recognizable language. And if you go to this direction, the languages are becomes more close to machine. Okay, your system start understanding these languages. Okay. So this is what is the old thing we have numbers of time discussed previously, right? Now comes grammar, because if you see in my previous discussion, I was telling you that these things, this kind of instruction will be recognized by the compiler using some grammar, right? Now, what is this grammar? What kind of grammar will be there? So how what kind of grammar will be there with compiler? So that we need to understand at the beginning. Okay, what do we understand by grammar? Okay, so the set of structural rules that govern the composition of sentences, phrases, and words in any given natural language is known as grammar. And this definition is taken from Wikipedia. Okay. Now, when you say formal grammar, so it is grammar in sense of natural languages, correct? Natural languages. So when we say formal grammar, what is that? Their rule for forming strings in formal languages. Okay. Now, what is formal languages? Formal languages are the kind of special languages which are developed to solve a certain kind of problem. Okay, they are called as formal languages. Like you all have studied, I think, automata theory. That was called as formal languages and automata theory, or this is part of, you can say, theory of computation. Okay, so that was there. Now, computer language grammar rules for forming tokens, statements, and programs. Now, see what is token? Token are variable names. It can be keywords, or it can be operators. Understand? So in C, when you have studied the C language, what was there? What was the rule for writing variable name, keywords, or anything? What is the basic rule? That you can use alphabet, right? You can use A to Z, you can use underscore, you can use what else was there? You can use capital letter and you can use digits, but it should not start with digit, right? So this rule is part of the grammar of C language. Understand? So it gives you rule for forming token. These are token. Okay. Then statement. Now what is statement? Statement is if you are writing, say, A equal to B plus C. So this is a statement. Okay. In this statement, A is a variable, that means it is a token, B is a token, C is a token, this is an operator, and this is another operator. Okay. So this is a statement. So you can understand what is a statement. Statement is nothing but a proper arrangement of tokens. Okay. So now whether this is syntactically correct or not, that will be checked by the language grammar. Understand? Then different layers of grammars are there, like regular grammar, context-free grammar, or CFG. CFG. So CFGs you are quite I think familiar with. When you have studied that theory of computation, CFG was there, correct? Then CFGs here you will find in compiler design, again the same CFG you are using to define sentences and programs. Okay, and there was regular grammars also, which was used to generating tokens that or words, or which are we was calling that time as string. Right, strings was there in theory of computation. I think you remember small w, we used to represent string using small w, correct? So yes. So after this, do you have any question or anything to ask me? No? You can do interaction, you can ask me time to time, so that our communication seems like we are really communicating. Huh? Otherwise, it will look like simply video lecture we are watching. Huh? It is already where it is happening online, and after that, if we don't communicate, that will be, that will not be a good experience for us, right? We met online, we didn't spoke to each other, only one-way communication I have done, and it is not a good thing. End of the day, we will not know anything about each other and about the course also as well. Okay, so I have spoken about language. Now there is something called language translator, correct? So language, what is language translator? It translates the language in such form so that we can understand, okay, or for whom it is translating, they can understand that what is there in the language. Understand? So translate one language into another language is called as translator. Okay, it can be even C++ to Java. You can have some translator where you just give, you have a translator, you give C++ code as input, and you get Java code as output. Okay, you can think, is it possible? Then definitely this is a generic term. Okay, so for high level programming languages such as Java, C, it is called as compiler. Okay, like, now what is compiler? It translates high level programming language code into host machine's assembly code and execute the translated program at runtime. Okay, now here basically I don't like this part, that translate high level language, high level programming language code into host machines assembly code. So it is, if it is writing as a together, if you write, it may be somewhat correct, but instead writing this, instead of this, I like to write here, uh, it translate to source code to target code. So it is a more generalized definition. The target code may be anything. Now you can say my target code is host machine's assembly code. Okay, you can say. Okay, so this is not, I don't like writing this in the definition. Okay, and I have seen that people write many things here, at this place. So many things people write here. Sometimes they write, machine level language, simply write assembly code, but you should not write all these things. I'm telling you at the first day that when you are going to write definition of compiler, you should simply write it translates the high level programming language code into target code. Okay, it it may be, the target code can be low level language, it can be high level, it can be anything. Like if you see this example, you have a translator which converts C++ code to Java code. Then this definition does not goes with this, right? So you have to understand this. Then another thing is there, that is called interpreter. Interpreter is also quite popular among programming languages. So what is this? It process the source code and data at the same time. Okay, no equivalent assembly code is generated. No, again this instead of writing assembly code, you should write no equivalent intermediate code. Okay, so no equivalent intermediate code is generated. uh, I think many of you are familiar with interpreter. Python also uses interpreter, but it is kind of hybrid interpreter. Usually the classic concept of interpreter uh, does not sorry the classic concept of interpreter is that it will process the source program and data at time. Now say in source program you have 20 line of codes. Okay, in the other or say in the source program, just a minute, in the source code you have 20 lines of code. That means each line is representing one instruction. Okay, understand? So you have a source code which have 20 number of instruction. So if this is going to be inserted to some interpreter, then what is going to happen? This interpreter, in the classical concept, will read one instruction at a time from here. Okay, so one one instruction per time, at a time. Okay, Okay, so it will read one instruction at a time, and if some data is required to process it, then it will read the data and it will give generate output for that instruction, and this output will be carried forward for the next instruction. Okay. Now, in this way, say you are on the 15th, say you are, just a minute, say you are on the 15th instructions, okay, and there you encountered the error. Then in classical concept, what was happening? Your execution up to this was lost. That means all the intermediate outputs, these output, you lose. Okay, and your time go, also lost. But in Python, an interpreter, you have a good thing that it can save the output up to this. It has, by default it does it, and where you have the error, you can again go back and you can, work on the error and remove the bug, and then again you can start from there. Okay. So that is what a good thing with Python interpreter. Okay, but I think I am clear what is interpreter. Okay, so computer language grammar is basically rules for forming tokens. Okay, I have already told you this in the previous slide. Then assembler is again another term you will find after compiler interpreter. It comes assembler. So what is this? It translates assembly language to machine level code. Okay, so it is assembler. When you it will be asked, it is dedicated for only assembly language code. Okay, so you can't give any any other input to assembler. Okay, so how does it looks like? If it is compiler, it takes the whole source code at a time and it gives you the result. So what is the result here? Result is target code. Now this target code can be some, high level language. It can be assembly language. It can be binary file, or it can be byte code, right? Okay, so it can be anything, but definitely the output is not the executed result of the program. Okay, so this is the concept of compiler. Okay, so another thing, it is saying result, but it can give you another thing that is called most important. Why do we need to compile our program? Because first of all, we need to know that whether any error in our code or not. If there is no error, okay, if there is no error, then it generate all these things or any of these things, target code. Okay, but in case of interpreter, the so better you don't write here result. We write here target code. That will look good. Okay, but in case of interpreter, basically this interpreter communicates with runtime. Understand? That means in a source code, what I was telling you, that you have a source code which is having 20 instruction. So it takes one instruction, one at a time. Okay, it takes as input, or it reads, you can say, from your source code. Then it goes to the interpreter. Now, if after interpreting, that means it converts this source code instruction to some executable code, okay, say bytecode, okay, it sends it to the runtime environment, or say to the processor. We write it by MUP, right? Or microprocessor. So it sends. Then, if this runtime environment needs some data to execute that, code, then it asks for the data from the interpreter. Interpreter takes data as input, okay, and sends this data to the runtime. Runtime generates the result, send back to the interpreter, and the interpreter give you the result, okay. And so it is this result initially generated is, say, for instruction 1, okay. So this will be saved, okay. Now it takes second instruction from this side, okay. The same procedure goes on. Then it if this data here is required is the output or result generated from the first instruction, so it is saved with the interpreter. It can be fed here, and this data will go again. You understand how interpreter works? I think it is clear. Is it clear? Or do you have any question on interpreter? No response. I wish you are not sleeping. Yes. And this is another thing called a hybrid compiler. Okay, now you will understand what I was telling you. No? Again, when you have studied C or some other language, you may have remembered that you give the source code as input. The source code you give, the compiler generates some machine code we used to call bytecode in case of C. Is it bytecode for C? Okay. Then it goes for execution, and at the time of execution, you give data inputs, and it generates your result. Okay. And these two things also we are familiar with: compile time and execute time. Okay. So if you are using a compiler, then you can just divide the whole thing like this in two parts. Understand? If your compiler is machine independent, then this code can be taken to any other machine. Okay, then it can go for execution on other machine. You don't need to compile the code again, and you can get the result. Okay, so this is how a hybrid compiler looks like. So what is compiler? So compiler is a software which converts source code to target code. Okay. So compiler is a software which checks the errors like lexical error, syntax error, and semantic error, okay, in the source code, and convert it to target code. Okay, so if it is asked somewhere that what is a compiler, you should give this definition, not those definition I have shown you in the previous slides. Okay, I can remember that when I was teaching compiler design, there was more than 12 definition I found from the student, and every definition was partially correct, because they used those terms previously I have shown in previous slides. Okay, but I found only few students retain this 2 point. These 2 points are important when you are writing what is compiler. Understand? Now, if you think about a language processing system, what does happen? Step by step, if you think, if you, yeah, you have the source program, right? It, if you think about C, even you write the C source code or C source program, first it goes for preprocessor. Do you remember the preprocessor in C? Many things, before the main function you can write, and when your code is going to be compiled, before compilation, there is a part integrated with compiler in C compiler that is called preprocessor. So first it does the preprocessing. That means it replace those code with appropriate code generated, or you can say already stored in the machine. Okay, so that happens. Then you get modified source code. So after preprocessing, if you just open the file, if you can capture, you will see that this is same, say, C code with some modification. Okay, so you can just open again and you can understand what modification happened. Okay, then this modified code goes to the compiler. Okay, now this compiler is having different tasks. It will do first check, as I had told you, our brain also does each word. That means it will check each small part first, right? Like you have written, say, int a, it will check whether int is valid, a is valid. The syntax comes later, or you have written, say, first, if you have written a, then you have written int. So initially it will check whether a is valid, int is valid, and it will get answer, yes, a is a valid and int is also valid in C language. So at this point, at checking the small parts, there will be no error. Then it will check syntax. When it will check syntax, if you have written a, then int, then semicolon, as per the syntax, it will not match, because as per the syntax, it should be int a, correct? It should be int a. So that time it will give you a syntax error. Understand? Then if there is no syntax error, so you have not given this, you have written say int a, then semicolon, so there will be no error. So it will then go for semantic errors or semantic check, a semantic analysis we can call it. Okay, what it will check, there whether, so there is some instruction that a equal to b by c. Okay, now before that you have written c equal to 0. Can you divide anything by 0? No. So it will check this semantic. Okay, you have written a equal to b by c, but this c you have already defined is 0, so it is not possible. So it will give you a semantic error. So all these things will be done by the compiler. But if you have not written something like this, then it will generate the target assembly program. Then this will go to some assembler, and it will create some reallocatable machine code. So if this is the architecture, basically, if you have this power, then it is expected that you will get some relocatable machine code. Okay, but I'm telling you again that all the time you will not have assembler as a part of this. If it is not there, if this compiler is directly generating machine code, it is expected that that machine code will be machine dependent. Okay, so then this code goes for linker and loader. Okay, you have libraries where you have already compiled files. So this linker and loader will load those files and link those files to your current program. Okay, and finally you will get the target machine code. So this is quite similar to C. Okay, now how does compiler work? So compiler performs its tasks in the same way how human approaches to some problem. Okay, now consider the following sentence: the cat runs. When I just said the cat runs, all of our brains just felt that there is some cat which is who runs, correct? So we understand what is the sentence, what does the sentence mean, right? Why? I have already told you, I'm not reiterating, because again our brain checked its small things, then the grammar and all. Okay, so we we all understand what it means, but how do we arrive at the conclusion? Okay. Now look at this. The process of human brain, how our brain does this. Okay. Okay. So first recognize character. Okay, that means something is written in say English, or whatever text you are reading, say written in English. Then what happens? First, our brain recognizes each character. So if I write the cat runs, so how many of you can read this? I think all of you, right? But if you write, sorry, how many of you can read this?
No idea, sir.
Yes. Somebody said me, what is your name?
Sir, Shubhav. I said no idea about what it is.
No, no, somebody said Shama Barato
Right. Yeah.
Vairagi. Yeah. So, what is there in the circle? I have written the cat runs in Bengali script. Understand? So, I was expecting that most of you will not know what is the the Bengali script. So, will not understand. Understand what is my point? My point is that if I write something for your understanding, you must understand each character written in the script. Understand? When I written it using English script, all of you can read it. And I use the same thing in Bengali script, you can't read it because you don't know the script. So first thing is that each character should be recognized by the then generate the logical entities. That means logical entities means these words. Okay, so here C is alphabet, A is alphabet, T is alphabet. But when these three things comes together and becomes cat, it should be something which your brain is having a dictionary, and which dictionary have this composition, and you know that this composition means cat, and this composition is a meaningful word. Understand? Now, if somebody written the tag runs, then what will happen? See, we know every character in the string, right? Every character in the script. But when you are looking at this, TAC, what is this? It is not making any sense, correct? So our human brain works like this. Our brain will never tell you that the cat runs is written here. Is not it? The same thing will happen. I will show you in compiler. Okay. So these logical entities can be, and other things can be, alphabet. The can be mathematical symbol. It can be some punctuation. Okay. Then check the word from structurally correct sentence. Whether when you have words, multiple words, right? Then you have to say that whether it is structurally correct sentence. I had written the cat runs. If somebody writes runs the cat, okay, is it a structurally correct sentence? Or say cat the runs. If somebody is written that then if somebody is written like this, our brain will not recognize what you want to say, man, right? So that something happens. Then check the combination of word makes. I have already tell you. Okay. Then translate to your language. Now, being a non-English people, I think when I had written the cat runs, what came in your mind? You tell me. Did your mind just stop after reading the cat runs, or something was there in your mind?
A picture of the situation, kind of a cat running.
But yes, that situation you was thinking in English or Hindi? Honestly, you tell me.
No idea, sir. I mean, I was not thinking about.
I think most of
Picture there.
the people will have in mind that Darta hua billi. Is that it? So yeah, this happens basically. When something is written in some other language, our mind prefers to just translate it into our own language, then visualize it. Okay. You will find very rare people that who can think in other language. It happens very rarely. Usually thought or a visualization happens when things comes in our own language. Okay, then we optimize it. Okay, like initially you may think that the cat runs. That means maybe it is running in front of Zaire, or that is the reason Zaire is saying. Then you think, okay, no, that it is just a sentence, or how we can, if I write the same sentence like, there is a cat who runs. Say, if I write, there is a cat who runs. Then immediately you will say, sir, what is the need of writing this big sentence? You can simply write the cat runs, right? Because you are speaking in present tense, correct? So you can simply say that the cat runs. So that is the optimization. Okay, if I have told this, immediately your brain will optimize this big sentence, that, oh, I don't need to interpret this big sentence. I will just understand the sir is saying the cat runs. Is that it? Then if there is instruction, some instruction in my sentence, then we will plan the task accordingly, or our brain will plan the task accordingly. Okay. Then if it feels that some action to be taken by our body or by something, by using some instrument, then that will be done. Okay. So this is how our human brain works. Now if you see, I think simple English grammar, what I have said, recognize character and generate logical entities is a word we have already told. That is like the cat runs. Okay, so these are the things, right? Each are recognized character, the cat runs, and it is each, in each triangular bracket or angular bracket, you can see that each of the words are logical entity, they are meaningful. Okay, now how our brain understand that this is a correct sentence, right? So in our brain there is a concept of English grammar, and that concept is looks like a sentence can be given into two part, that is noun phrase and verb phrase. Is that it? Then noun phrase can have two part, article and noun, and the articles are a and the. There is no other article. So our brain knows all these things. So if I would have write that uh, runs, so immediately you would have said what is this before cat, right? And at the same time your brain would have also think that before noun, cat is a noun, right? So before noun, it can only be article. It can be the cat runs. Then it will be a quite complete sentence. Okay. So this structure is in our mind basically. Then verb phrase, there can be a verb and a noun phrase, and we all know that this noun phrase can be, it can be omittable, that it is, you can say, quite optional, right? And this noun can be anything. It can be a boy, bicycle, cat, or whatever. And verb can be runs, rides, and run. Any other form of the verbs can be there. All right. So according to this, our brain immediately try to construct that whether this sentence, basically the cat runs, fits with this grammar. Immediately it try to do. Let me see. Yeah, it try to do this. First, it takes this rule, sentence, it can have noun phrase and verb phrase. Then it says things that, okay, if there is noun phrase, it can be two things, article and noun. Yes, we have the as article and cat as noun. And verb phrase can have only verb, no problem. Okay, and this verb can be any form of verb. So here we have runs. So the cat runs. So our brain immediately accepts after doing this tree. Okay, our brain immediately accepts that yes, it what the person is saying is a correct sentence. Okay. Now, if I ask you to draw a tree like this, the boy rides a bicycle. How many of you can do it? Anybody? Can anybody do this? Take pen and paper, use this grammar, draw this, and take a snap and send me immediately.
Okay, sir.
How you will send me? You want to WhatsApp me? I am putting my phone number in chat box. You just send me in WhatsApp. Everybody try. Everybody try. I'm telling you. Okay, you don't send it to WhatsApp. There will be many messages, I think. What other channel is there?